Self-love versus selfishness. And you might be saying to yourself, well, Jen, there's a clear-cut difference between these two things. Between, say, like a narcissist and somebody who just loves themselves. Is there really? I wanted to talk about it today because I feel like sometimes this trendy, almost, idea of self-love and authenticity kind of gets blended with selfishness in society. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about, explain, and I'm going to give you 5 clear-cut differences between the two things and why I think it's important. Sit tight. The nature of human selfishness. Is it just something ingrained in us or what? Just like self-love could be, or selfishness? Well, we're going to talk about it today. I think it's important, and that's why I wanted to do a video on it. Pretty much explaining the differences between the two and how they sometimes get blended. So, number 1 is always look for the underlying theme or emotion in somebody's life. Okay, if we're trying to determine, is this person really authentic? Are they just, because some people, get this, okay, some people can come across as very confident. So where's the difference between confident and cockiness, okay? Where's the difference between this just inner confidence and this, this quality of egotism? Sometimes they can be confusing, especially if you're trying to figure somebody out. So number 1, like I said, is try to see the underlying layer of somebody's emotion, their theme, okay? Is it driven by love? Or is it driven by anger? Is there a lot of underlying anger and fear that you can pick up on? A lot of times we're just kind of looking at the superficial of somebody. Okay, somebody's really confident, blah, 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 blah. But usually you can pick up on signs of like an underlying theme in their life, okay? And that's basically one of the main differences here. Number 2 is, okay, self-love is heart-based. Selfishness, on the other hand, and selfish pride is ego-based, okay? So heart-based versus me versus you. Self-love is this inner, quiet confidence. It's not necessarily the boastful, look at me, I love myself, I freaking love myself. No, it's this inner radiance, okay? It's not attention seeking. So if it's driven by ego and selfishness, you could call it, then it's more attention seeking. It wants something from somebody. It's looking to get a rise. It's boastful. It feels the need to project out. That's not self-love necessarily, okay? Self-love is quiet. It's an inner radiance. It's this magnetic energy that you don't really need, and this goes into number 3, is you don't need to work to find it. So contrary to the belief of every self-help book that you've probably ever read, or not, self-love is not something to work towards, okay? It's something that just comes naturally within or organically. We may think like, oh, I don't love myself, so I need to find solutions to love myself. No, that's ego-based, okay? That's not necessarily selfish. I don't like to throw everything in the category of selfishness because we're human beings and we want to try to fix ourselves, or we want to try to be better than we feel and all that sort of thing. I mean, we're you know, whatever. But it's this thing of, we always feel like we're trying to look for the magic bullet to love ourselves. So self-love is not about that. It's not work to love yourself, okay? You just do, you don't realize it. Whereas selfishness, things like that, and pride, we always feel like we need to work at it. It's about me, it's about me, it's about me, it's about me. It's again about ego. And it's this idea that, you know, I need to fix myself, or I'm weak, or I'm flawed in some sort of way. No. And maybe that's not selfishness per se, but there is a difference between just loving yourself and being that other kind of ego-driven mindset, if you know what I mean. So self-love is this fullness that comes from within, whereas selfishness or pride, things like that, is this more topical, superficial, seemingly fullness, but emptiness actually underneath. Number 4 is, okay, self-love comes with this idea of us exhibiting virtues, things like compassion, humility, kindness towards other people, without viewing it as a weakness. Okay, so selfishness, pride, all these things that are more ego-based is more from a primal, instinctual place, human place, where it's survival of the fittest, basically. If you've seen people out in the world today who's like, only the strong will survive, we don't want anybody weak, kindness is weak, compassion for other people is weak. No, that's actually a weakness to think that way. Here's the catch, okay? Pure self-love recognizes, it's a more evolved state where it recognizes these virtues of compassion for other human beings, because it not only realizes that, okay, I'm a human being on earth, but I'm not just that. I'm connected to source, I'm connected to energy, I'm connected to everybody and everything around me as well. So the decisions that I make, okay, and what kind of energy I put out there is going to affect the whole as well. But people who are more ego-driven don't think like that. They're in their primal instinct, which is usually, think of an animal, right? Running away or attacking predator, whatever, for safety. They want to survive, okay? It's our natural instinct. We have animal instinct within us, right? Fear-based. I'm fearing for my life, I'm fearing for my safety. And that's usually where these things, pride, selfishness, egotism, narcissism, come out of, okay? Again, anger, and anger is usually underneath of it, is fear. Fearing for safety. So it's a very primal thing. Whereas self-love, pure self-love, recognizes that you're more than just animalistic. And number 5, pure self-love knows that creating reality from a place of authenticity means knowing when to be in your power and when you need to actually submit to change, okay? So things in life, there's always this idea of like domination, submission, okay? You could think of like BDM, SM culture, whatever. Okay, there's some truth to that, where human beings, as animals, I guess you could say, are either in their power, they're trying to dominate, and then others are submitting to certain things. So let's think about this for a minute, okay? People don't want to be submissive or submit because it looks weak. But understand that that's coming from the place of ego, and that's coming from the place of the animalistic, like, only the strong will survive. If you're weak and you submit to this power, then you're nothing in this world. But let's shift perspective on that a little bit, okay? If you truly know yourself and love yourself, and you're from an authentic place, you know when to rise into your power, and you know that things around you will change, and you have to be somewhat adaptable to change, okay? So it's not submitting to something, submitting to change is not actually a weakness. It's a strength, because you understand, you're looking at it from a higher view than this rigid belief system where people in their pride or people in their ego may think, no, I need to be in control, in power all the time. Therefore, what happens? Change happens in the world. Things move, nature moves. People don't like it. People are ignorant, they're arrogant, they deny it. They say, this isn't happening in my world, or they try to manipulate reality by forcing their way through. This power force, okay? Which, by the way, if you're into some of my other videos on 5 element, is wood out of balance, because the emotion of the wood element is anger. But the virtue of the wood element in balance is kindness and compassion. So there's a difference there between being in balance and being out of balance, but that's for another day. So think about it, okay? Knowing yourself knows when to adapt, and it knows when to be in power and control. Whereas if you're driven by pride and ego, it's always this me versus you. You always feel threatened by change. There's a huge difference there, huge difference. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit today, because even though it seems like, okay, self-love, there's a huge difference between these two things. Sometimes it gets blurred, okay? And sometimes when we see somebody as this confident, power-hungry, like force in nature, because that's what our society is all about, right? It's like, the stronger I am, the more I can force my way through and bend reality to my liking. Well, karma is all I have to say, you know, and you're going to put yourself through hell trying to get there. So, and that's not self-love, that's fear-based, trying to control everything in your life. Because trying to control is, means you're feeling threatened or intimidated in some way. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know your thoughts on this, because I think it's something that should be talked about. So leave comments below. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. I put out new videos. I try to put them out every week for you on all things from Chinese medicine, Chinese 5 elements, self-empowerment, all kinds of stuff for you. So have a good one, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.